All right, so welcome to another Gun Channel show called Lock and Load, and it's Monday night, and got all the usual suspects and criminals or not, but got a lot of stuff going on in the world, and we were talking about Trump tweeting at Iran today about not taking no shit off the mullahs that run that place. Maybe they'll want to buy this Russian battleship. So this is one of the things we want to talk about, is this Russian battleship, the Dmitrii Donskoi. It's an interesting battleship. All the gun ports are on the side. It's not like turrets. I don't think. It's all just these side mounted guns.
It's actually not a battleship. It's an armored cruiser. Right. So it's actually before a pre-dreadnought battleship. So it's smaller. It's going to be more lightly armed, but for all intents and purposes, most people would consider it a battleship because it's got armor and cannon.
Yeah, they reclassified it from battleship to heavy cruiser later, after it was originally deployed for the first time, or christened or whatever. Built in St. Petersburg. It's named after the Prince of Moscow or something, whatever. But so the interesting thing that happened with this battleship, but just looking at it before I get into the history, is that it's got two sailing masts on top and one in the back.
So it used coal-fired steam reciprocating engines to get around. But if they wanted to save fuel, they could rig sails and use conventional sail power instead of burning coal. Or if they had an emergency and they lost their engines or ran out of coal, they could use sail power. It wasn't very effective, but it did have that as a backup, because that was kind of a transitional period in ships, in warships and commercial ships.
And to deploy to the Far East, like Japan, they needed to go. I mean, they're sailing from St. Petersburg, so they needed to go like either through the Suez Canal or around the Cape of is that the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa?
Yes.
And so that's a long journey. So if they could save a little coal and use some wind power on those long voyages, that was the thing. But the thing that came up, the news story, and why this ship is in the news right now, is the salvage on it. This ship was scuttled after a naval battle with Japan off an island of South Korea. And well, let me pull up the article here, some of the articles that I have on it real quick.
Actually, that ship couldn't go through the Suez Canal, and the reason being is that the Russians were afraid that the British would trap their fleet in the Suez Canal, because on the way from the Baltic Sea, where they had some ships, their ships in the Far East were in trouble out there. They were outnumbered, and they had all kinds of issues going on. So they sent some of their ships from the Baltic Sea out to the Far East to bolster their navy out there on that side of their country. And along the way, they got paranoid and thought that there were Japanese torpedo boats in the English Channel, all the way over in the English Channel. And in the fog of war that you were talking about, they shot at British trawlers, fishing trawlers, and they even shot at their own ships in their flotilla. And the British were so angry, they almost went to war with Russia, but what they decided to do was not go to war. But Russia was a little bit worried that, oh crap, we just shot and killed all these British civilians. We better not go through the British-controlled Suez Canal. At that time it was British-controlled, because they might trap our fleet in there in retribution. So they had to go the long way around. So they had to make a lot of stops for coal.
And what's interesting about what you just said is not that. Let's look at this picture. There's another picture of it. Why is there a Union Jack on the front of this boat? And And why is it white? In the other pictures, it's black. So they just painted it white for this photo. And why is there a Union Jack on the front of it?
Are you absolutely sure it's the same ship? Because back then, a lot of the armored cruisers and protected cruisers looked a lot alike.
Well, this is the one that's on the Wikipedia page. So unless the Wikipedia put up a wrong picture.
Never believe Wikipedia. Well, maybe.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Did they buy it? Did they buy it off of the British?
No, they built this ship.
They built it? Okay.
It did show up at some Columbia Festival or something, for presidential inspection in New York Harbor once. I mean, it sailed all around the world. It was a well-known ship. They could have just painted it.
Yeah, it wasn't launched and immediately went to war against the Japanese. It was in their fleet for a while before it saw combat.
It even was rebuilt and refitted in Nagasaki.
Back when relations were good.
Yeah, Vladivostok, I believe, is the port in the Pacific for Russia's port. But let's see. The whole thing about the shipwreck that just let's see. Let's go back to the sinking first. Dmitrii Donskoi was assigned to the cruiser force 2nd Pacific Squadron, departed Libau on 1904, bound for Vladivostok. Captain first rank Lebedev in command. En route to the North Sea, she was damaged by friendly fire from 7 sister ships in a mistake for a Japanese vessel.
The Dogger Bank incident.
Dogger Bank incident. All right. So then she passed the Cape of Good Hope, which we were talking about in December, while approaching the Strait of Tsushima in May 1905. The Russian force was intercepted by the Japanese in the Battle of Tsushima. Cruiser was assigned to defend the transport ships at the rear of the Russian formation. It was not seriously engaged. That day, she became separated from the rest of the fleet and attempted to steam north to Vladivostok through the Japanese fleet. Dmitrii Donskoi was unsuccessfully attacked by Japanese destroyers and torpedo boats during the night. The following morning, she helped transfer the badly wounded squadron commander, Vice Admiral, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, from the destroyer that I'm also not going to pronounce to another destroyer, and then was forced to scuttle one of the destroyers when the destroyer's machinery broke down. The destroyer's crew, as well as some 205 survivors from all these ships whose Russian names I can't pronounce, were transferred to the cruiser before the other destroyer was scuttled. As the ships sailed northward, she was spotted late in the day by several groups of Japanese ships and badly damaged in the ensuing combat. Captain Lebedev decided to run his ship aground at here's a Korean name I can't pronounce, Ulengoto, but the ship anchored instead, and all of the men aboard were taken to the island. Roughly 60 men of the ship's crew had been killed, and another 120 wounded during the fighting. The next morning, Dmitrii Donskoi was scuttled about 1.5 miles offshore. The survivors were taken prisoner that afternoon by landing parties from the Japanese destroyer Fubuki and the Japanese armed merchant Kasuga Maru. Now, that just sounds fishy because of the salvage story that came up later. They just scuttled the ship. Why would he scuttle a ship that was reportedly carrying more gold than Russia was worth? Okay, in 2000.
Well, if he thought he couldn't get away, if he thought they were going to get sunk out at sea, he might have brought it in close to the island to get everybody on dry land, and then he's going to scuttle it so it doesn't get captured. But maybe they were thinking they'd rather get captured, all of them alive on dry land, than be lost at sea, maybe.
I can understand the priority of saving the crew. But
not me. I have not yet begun to fight.
You would rather save the gold. I understand. In 2001, a South Korean salvage company announced that it had found the wreck of the Dmitrii Donskoi. The share price of this South Korean salvage company rose by 41% in 1 week on rumors that 14,000 tons of gold, that's 10% of the gold ever mined on Earth, was on board the ship.
I seriously doubt it.
That's more gold than Russia was worth at the time as a nation. But they never raised anything from sea, and the company went bankrupt. So that's a pump and dump. It sounds like a pump and dump stock ripoff. Okay. South Korea's Institute of Ocean Science and Technology claims to have discovered the wreck in 2003 and has photographs from 2007 on its website. Now we'll get to the Chanel Group. In July 2018, the Chanel Group, a South Korean treasure hunting company, announced it had found, once again, the Dmitrii Donskoi 1,400 feet below the surface, 1 mile off of the South Korean island of Ulan-Gudo. Under the group's plan, a Chinese salvage company will attempt to retrieve 5,500 boxes of gold bullion and 200 tons of gold coins, altogether worth $133 billion US. They believe are inside the wreck. Half of the gold will be given back to Russia. I know that there's a 10% fee that they would have to pay to get a salvage permit from South Korea. The company, founded in June 2018, still has not applied to the South Korean Ministry and Maritime Affairs and Fisheries for salvage rights. No evidence has been offered by the Chanel Group for the ship carrying any gold when it sank. South Korea's financial regulator warned the public against investing money in treasure hunting ventures. Park Sung-jin, a spokesman for the Chanel Group, said that a cryptocurrency exchange website purporting to be theirs was fake. So the thing is, they're going to launch like an ICO on all cryptocurrency exchanges, and for the matter, all exchanges are pools that and trading hypothecated financial instruments. It's like the same thing with silver on the COMEX, but that this is going to be but the whole thing about cryptocurrencies is people always say, well, it's not backed by anything, and never minding that neither is fiat, and they can print as much fiat as they want. But the thing is, they can say, well, this ICO token, I mean, ICO tokens are almost always pump and dump schemes, but never mind the ICO tokens. They aren't really cryptocurrencies, they're tokens, but they're going to say this one is backed by gold because there's all this gold, but nobody's ever actually proven that the ship was carrying gold as far as I know, and nobody has actually brought up one flake of gold from this wreck yet. and so people, they want to fund this salvage operation through a crypto ICO, a Chinese company. It's fishy from the moment it was sunk to how they're trying to finance the salvage operation. I mean,
I've got 4 words for you: Al Capone's secret vault.
Is that the one that
Geraldo Rivera did on live TV?
Yeah. So, fake news. But it's an interesting story. I wouldn't even, the problem with exchanges is, every crypto exchange is also based on fiat currency because it's not the same as holding your own cryptocurrencies in like a Trezor or even in a software wallet. It's not the same. We have it on an exchange. It's a pool, and you don't really have control over your own money. Just like if you have your money in a bank, it's the bank's money. It's not yours. And that's the whole thing with the whole cashless digital currency society that, I think Australia is demonetizing like it's a bunch of paper currencies. And they always say, well, we don't want gangsters and drug dealers using it. And it's just, I've heard every rehypothecated, regurgitated horse shit. But I mean, this looks like a scam to me. and it just smells bad. It walks like a duck. It talks like a duck. I have no idea if there's any gold under the ocean, and I just wouldn't invest in this this. I mean, there's a lot of other things that I would take a chance on, but I wouldn't take a chance on this.
But China has such a good history of dealing with international governments when it comes to corruption inside of their country, right?
Well,
I hear they have great track records on patent infringement.
well, let's just not bash China right off the bat. I'd rather bash this Korean ICO. I mean, they're going to use it's a Korean company using a Chinese salvage company, and there's going to be and there's already a fake cryptocurrency exchange up. It's like, what? I mean, every exchange is rehypothecated, like fictional money, and it's just, I wouldn't like having anything on an exchange or in a brokerage account or even in a bank at this point, because Deutsche Bank all the banks are insolvent, and there's just third-party counter risk to when the derivative bubble pops to every American bank, Citibank, Chase, JP Morgan Chase. And boy, there was somebody from JP Morgan Chase on some lady that was talking about commodities, and she was so full of shit. It was on Bloomberg News. I think, oh my God, that truly is fake news. And the whole concept that JP Morgan puts forward, that they have so much gold and silver that they on behalf of their clients in physical, that they have to I mean, basically the COMEX trades more silver every year than I think was ever mined, because it's all hypothecated. It's not real. So
it doesn't have to be real when everything is digital. The bank,
I mean,
don't the banks all have all the money by now? Because how many millennials use paper money?
Well, they don't want people using money because they can't track you, they can't monitor you, and you're harder to control. So they don't want paper money. They want digital currency. And
well,
so
basically, back to the Bitcoin maven, they went after her because
Bitcoin is Bitcoin not necessarily that one, but cryptocurrency has the potential to be kryptonite to the banking system. People start using it. People start actually using it, and Bitcoin isn't the one that people will use if the banks go down. Maybe they'll use Litecoin. Maybe they'll use digital. Bitcoin right now, it's too slow. The transactions are too slow. The transaction costs too much. It's kind of used as a storage of wealth because it's not decentralized like it was supposed to be in the white paper. So there's other currencies that are ready to go that blow Bitcoin away. But they're all the different blockchain ones, but they're all based on the same mathematics. And the trick is there's a finite amount of coins that can be minted, unlike fiat currency, which they could just the central banks could just print up however much they need for whatever they want. And that's how they steal your money. It's like if you have $100,000 saved up in the bank, then we'll just print up like $10 trillion and give it to everybody for some social program. And then, everybody got some free benefit from the social program, but all the money in your bank account is worth just a little bit less. And they have 2%, their target, the Federal Reserve, is 2% inflation. That means the money that you have saved up every year is planned to be worth 2% less every year. And if there's hyperinflation like in Venezuela, then you have 50,000%. Your money is worth 50,000% every year less. So, and there's this socialist country with no food, no toilet paper, and
if that happens, then we're going to have to start soaking the money in water.
That's what they did. Yeah, if you go to a store. And first of all, there will be armed guards at the store. If you go in and you try and buy more than one package of toilet paper, they will stop you. They will say only one. But yeah, that's when you bring in your money. People soak it's so worthless that people wet down the paper because they have to weigh it. Instead of counting it, they'll just weigh it to see how much money you have. and so people would soak their paper currency so that it would weigh more in water. So I guess Venezuela's gonna have to start, if they can't even afford the paper to print their own money. And people want to get out of that country, and people that have paid for passports, they don't have paper to print the passports neither. It's just such a fucked up country. It's socialism. That's they did it right. That's how socialism works. So anyway, I think we got off the battleship topic, but so this was like the hull of this battleship had was like copper and wood. And you want to explain the whole thing with copper? If Squib is still there.
You dropped out. What?
Sorry. Can you explain the whole thing about wood and copper on these ships? How they copper plated the hulls and stuff, and why?
So they copper plated the hulls because of more or less worms at sea. Things will eat it up. So if they copper plated it, these parasitic animals eat into the wood. Another thing is, I believe this one had a ram on the front, and it was heavy, and they had to clad it in wood and copper to keep it from corroding.
I thought there was some tactical reason.
On the underside is just it's to keep marine life from chewing up the wooden hull.
I thought it was tactical, something about torpedoes, so somebody could drill a hole and plant explosives, or something about torpedoes, or I can't remember. There was some tactical reason that they plated it in copper, ships in copper. I don't remember what it was. Was it so that
modern warships have these copper plates all around the hull to periodically be replaced, and surrounding the ship on the ocean, and these copper plates corrode, but it's for the modern electrical and electronic systems on board the ships. But back in the day, it was just to keep marine parasites from eating through the wooden hulls.
Okay, I thought there was some tactical reason, but I'll have to get back. I'll have to update that at some point in the future. Because I could have sworn there was a tactical reason as far as making it hard, because they had very rudimentary submarines, and they wanted people not to be able to drill through the hull or something, or something about torpedoes. I don't remember what.
The only time I heard about a submarine drilling through the hull of another ship in combat was more like a troll that floated, had a drill wooden ship hull. I don't know if it was just to put holes in it, just somehow or another plant a charge on a long stick or something like that. I know that the Hunley in the Civil War had a torpedo spar mounted on the bow, and it was a long pole with an explosive charge on it. They were supposed to ram it into the side of a ship, and then it's supposed to break off, and they pull a cord, and it more or less sets the fuse, and it gives the Hunley enough time to back away far enough that it doesn't get affected by the blast. But that didn't really work out so well. I mean, it did. They sunk the Housatonic, but they sunk themselves in the process. But yeah, as far as drilling a hole in the wooden hull of a ship with a sub, the only one I heard of was the Turtle in the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, the Revolutionary War. Okay, well, we'll have to look up research copper hull over the week, and maybe if we have any updates, it'll be on next week's show. All right. I don't have too much more on this. It's an interesting looking ship. Battleship technology and cruiser naval technology has progressed. It's just it just this whole thing with all the gold that was purported to be on here, and then they're basing this crypto token on, which is not a currency, it's a token. It's just all so fishy. All right, we'll move on to that from that, and we were talking about some Overwatch stuff and counter sniper and stuff like that on the pre-chat. And the first thing that I don't know if Squib heard it, but what I was saying is that you don't want to do is, if you're going to stand on your roof, you don't want to stand up on your roof, because you'll be skylining yourself and making like this perfect silhouette target. If you're going to do Overwatch, you need to put together some kind of hide on top of the roof, so you won't be like such a blatant, clear target that says "shoot me" on standing up on against the skyline horizon. And I'm not really sure. I know that all Marines are good riflemen, but all Marines aren't trained snipers. I mean, that's a specialty. Did you ever know anybody with that specialization?
When I got out, I met. Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of guys will say they were in the Navy, and they'll claim to be a SEAL, and it's a total lie. And there's guys who claim to have been Marines, and they claim they were a sniper, and it's a total lie. So after I got out, and he said he was a sniper, and he's telling me all this stuff, and I was just thinking, he's full of it. And actually saw his service record book, and I saw his dress blue uniform. All his ribbons were right in place. His service record book was legit, and all the ribbons that he had on his uniform, he had listed in his service record book right where it should have been. So I've only met one sniper in person. I mean, we had some British snipers that were hopping around on our helicopters. They come over to train with our guys, but I just talked to them for a little bit. I wasn't out there training with them. But I mean, as far as the training the snipers get is just more in depth on the marksmanship, but they also learn a lot more about camouflage, concealment, and things like that. I mean, they really get more intense training on what it takes to get to the target and get away. So,
yeah, that would be the most dangerous kind of person you wouldn't want to meet if the shit hits the fan, is somebody who had that professional training. Chances are you won't ever meet anybody like that if the shit hits the fan. Is it professional training? Most likely person who would try sniping at you would be just some FUD with a hunting rifle. I don't think I'm a FUD, but I have a hunting rifle.
Who's picking the banjo here?
Banjo? Let's see. So let's see. So we were talking about some counter sniper stuff. The first idea that I had brought up, and I'm not sure if Dusty liked it, was paracord and tarps or bed sheets to just around the building, so that nobody could just sit in a hide somewhere and put people in on there, just get a clear shot in their rifle scopes. And he had I don't think he liked that, because he thought he wanted to be able to have a clear field of view from I guess his buildings. I'm not sure that made sense to me, but it's not my farm. So let's see. The other idea was to go to find out where the most likely locations, and get range, exactly what the ranges are and stuff on the most likely sniper hides. And you can't put up any booby traps while we have the rule of law. But after shit hits the fan, if there's no rule of law, then there's no rules. But it would be smart, I think, to at least know what the bullet drop was to the most likely the best locations that somebody would choose around your property if they were going to try and snipe it. And did they? I don't know if they teach you any counter sniping stuff in basic training or not. Yeah, but as just a regular person, and my channel is just like I'm a regular person. I was never in the military, so I'm just like everybody else trying to muddle their way through. If the shit hits the fan, I'm just like a regular person, and I try and have like that in common with people who watch my channel. It's like I'm nobody special. If I can do it, you can do it. Because I didn't have any military training. I'm just a regular person, and so trying to figure out how to not be sniped if the shit hits the fan. That seems like a pretty useful plan to have at your bug out locations, whether it's all kinds of different perimeter alarms or alerts. Obviously, a sniper is going to be most dangerous after if a sniper builds a hide and he knows how to do camouflage, and then that's when he's like the most dangerous. If you get him before, if you can monitor the locations where they might go, and you can see them before they get all set up, then they're not as dangerous.
I guess the question is what's going to, I mean, if you got a perimeter set up and you got people pulling 24/7 security, I mean, is there something that valuable that they need from you that they're going to go through all that trouble? Or are they just going to move on to the next guy who's much easier to take out? It's not like they have, they might not have, orders or anything like that. So, there's no reason for that. If they see that you're well guarded, they might just go for the easier prey. I mean,
well, I see there's two things that could happen. One, you'll either get some probing shots, and they're going to just try and get a reaction to see where everybody on this property is, to see how well guarded it is by just taking a few random shots that don't hit anything. Or if you got, or they will actually snipe a person on your group and then stake them out as bait. Or they'll just snipe one person and disappear, and then come back in a week, and then snipe another person and disappear, come back in another week, and then eventually they'll just gonna assume that they can move in and take whatever's left, because that would be the most dangerous kind of person. It's one person who just comes in, snipes one person, and then disappears and comes back in a week or two, because you would never know when it's coming. And it's like, that would be like, well, we've got to get the hell out of here, because we keep, after like 2 or 3 weeks of that, getting sniped like one person a week. So I don't know how you do counter surveillance. Would you be able to use drones to do counter surveillance? And the shit hits the fan if you have some kind of grid up, or would it all be just optics, or would you just have to send out patrols to try and catch them before they get into a hide that is concealed?
Try to bug out to somewhere where they can't effectively do that to you. Somewhere where you're not giving them all these hiding places. You're not giving them all this. Where you're going to see them coming, if at all possible. Bug out to somewhere where you're going to see them coming.
Like where?
Dusty's farm.
Okay, if the nuclear power plants don't go bad, that might be okay. But I would need subarctic. I think I would need subarctic gear to survive a winter over in Michigan, because I think it was really cold last winter, for what you guys are telling me. And I've got mostly tropical kind of gear. I don't have any subarctic kind of. I mean, how cold was it last winter?
There are a couple days where it gets down to -20.
Ugh.
There's about 2 weeks in January where it gets below zero and stays below zero at night and early in the morning, but the rest of the time it's mostly 30s.
Okay, so Overwatch. I know you use iron sights. How long do you think you could look through a rifle scope before you would just get your effectiveness would go down? You would just get burned out looking just through a scope.
If you think I'm going to sit in some sniper hide and look through a scope for 8 hours straight, you're out of your mind.
No, I don't think anybody should have Overwatch for more than 2 hours. I mean, unless it's an active combat situation. Yeah, you should.
Even then, I'm not looking through a scope nonstop for 2 hours.
Yeah, you're gonna miss quite a bit if you're only looking through that
you have a limited field of view. Yeah, so you're at least going to need binoculars, at least I would assume. And
I always use pirate night vision.
Pirate night vision. You want to explain that?
You get an eye patch. When you're inside in the sunlight, you got an eye patch on, and it's the old school night vision.
Well, there's another kind of way to see people in the dark. It's called the flare gun.
Yeah, chem lights. I gotta go, gentlemen. Have a good night. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Take it
All right,
easy.
later.
All right, so there was another thing I wanted to bring up that something that Napoleon said. Where was that? My page of logistics quotes. He said, Napoleon said, amateurs discuss tactics or talk about tactics. Professionals study logistics. Thought that was an interesting quote. I'm not sure how you would apply it to prepping, except you have to, if you're going to bug out to Dusty's farm, you have to have a way to get there. And how much stuff are you planning on bringing? You probably can't even carry all your guns if you have to go on foot. I'm going to guess you have a decent sized firearm collection. Let's see. I have a page with this stuff up. Let's see. Here it is. Logistics quotes. Yeah, I got it. Let's see. Clearly, logistics is the hardest part of fighting a war. Lieutenant General E.T. Cook, United States Marine Corps, November 1990. Quote, gentlemen, the officer who doesn't know his communications and supply as well as his tactics is totally useless. George Patton. Forget logistics and you lose. Lieutenant General Frederick Franks, USA 7th Corps Commander, Desert Storm. Bitter experience in war has taught the maxim that the art of war is the art of the logistically feasible. Admiral Hyman Rickover, USN. So, Dusty, are you still with us? Or are you taking a shower? I was going to say, Dusty said he bought some life straws over the Amazon Prime event, whatever that was. I heard that whole Amazon went down for a day or something. I didn't buy anything over the Prime event, but I bought something a little before. Some minor stuff, nothing big. I think I bought a duplicate hammock. So now I have two instead of one. Two is one, one is none. I think preppers, that's a prepper saying. That's common. Here's one from Sun Tzu. The line between disorder and order lies in logistics. Sun Tzu. Behind every great leader, there was even a greater logistician. That was a really good one. Alexander, yeah. He says, quote, my My logisticians are a humorless lot. They know if my campaign fails, they are the first ones I will slay.
Marches on its stomach, Napoleon.
Army marches on its stomach. Yeah, Napoleon. Okay. So I'm not sure how that applies to prepping, except if you have to bug out your bug out location, you're gonna have to bug out with that with whatever you one way or another. On my island, there's like one road, and so and apparently there's cracks around the volcano on the road now. The road, the main belt highway is around volcano is getting cracks. They haven't closed it down yet, but they just said to be careful. I mean, how do you be careful if there's like a crevasse that opens up in the highway and you're driving at 50 miles an hour? Now, if there's a crevasse, it goes all the way across the highway. What are we supposed to do? Slam on the brakes and go head first in, or try and jump the thing and plow onto the other side of it? I assume right now they're not. They haven't shut it down, as far as I know. The highway's still open, but there's I think they said they had a meeting, the U.S. Geological Survey, and they said something like there will be a greater, there's 100% certainty that there will be a greater seismic event that will collapse more of the caldera. So basically, the lava underneath the main Kilauea caldera, up at the very top of the Kilauea, the mountain where the volcano house is and where the Jagger Observatory used to be, all the molten lava underneath it is just sinking and disappearing. So that was what was supporting the rim of the mountain staying up. And since the lava is just disappearing, whether it's all coming out of Fissure 8 or just disappearing down into the core of the earth, it's just collapsing and the caldera is getting bigger. And parts of the walls just kind of fall away, and there's gigantic earthquakes when that happens, because the walls fall down into wherever the lava is, and it explodes underground. And so it's probably a good that my that the offer I made up there on that house didn't go through. But it's like bugging out to a more geologically stable part of the island, like on the north part of the island. It's not as jungly. There's not as much cover. Of course, nobody can sneak up on you if you have no cover, but nobody can find you in the jungle either. So I'm going to be looking for new bug out locations, I think, up there. I don't know if that's going to work. If if it's, they said they don't know whether the current like Fissure 8 instabilities will go on for months or years. At this point, could go on for years. So I'm not going to like show video every week of the volcanic helicopter footage, when if it's going to be doing that like every day for the next couple of years. It's like, okay, it's a very active volcano.
Have you ever considered a boat?
Yeah, as soon as Bitcoin hits $1 billion, I'll get myself a Donzi. There's another house for sale up by that $70 million one up by Secrets Beach. There's another one for only $35 million on 17 acres. It's right also over Secrets Beach. It's not as nice. It doesn't have the infinity pool with the two Buddhas on each side, but there is a pool. It's just not an infinity pool. So, but staying on the Big Island, I think I don't know how if I'm going to want to buy property until stability temporarily returns, and I don't know when that's or if that's going to happen to this volcano.
Well, wouldn't that lower the property value, and then it's time to just swoop in and take advantage of those rock bottom prices?
When you say rock bottom, do you mean that's the problem? Is that the rocks keep dropping into the caldera?
Well, yeah, it's literally a fire sale.
Well, you can't if you're planning on borrowing any money from a bank to make a house purchase, to make a purchase of property, that they have to be willing to lend it to you, and even with the mandatory insurance pool, I don't know if anybody will underwrite it, even though they're legally obligated to if they want to sell insurance. They just say, you know what, fuck the state of Hawaii. If they want to close us down, we're not writing any insurance on anything up on that volcano. So, and then you won't be able to get a bank to loan money. And I know the place that I made an offer on, somebody else made an offer on, and they accepted it, and they had a contract, but it fell out of escrow after the volcano exploded, and I don't know why. They don't tell you why, but it's still available. But right now, I don't think anybody is going to pay more than $20 for a house up there. I mean, there's places listed. It's just you probably have to have all cash because no bank will write a loan on it, and it's just a fucking mess right now. I mean, if the roads get closed, like if Highway 11 gets completely closed because those crevasses on the main highway that they're reporting open up bigger, then you could find yourself not only be able to, like, if they close the road at more than one point, because there's cracks in the highway at more than one point, then you could find yourself not just be able to go, not being able to go from Volcano to Kono or from Volcano to Hilo. You could find yourself like trapped up there and not be able to go anywhere if the highway is closed on both sides. There is a dirt road that goes straight to Mauna Kea, but it's just buying property up on that volcano right now is really dodgy. I like the area, but if you don't know how big the caldera is going to get, the main caldera, I mean, that's a problem. And if the banks won't write a loan, that's a problem. If the insurance companies won't write a policy, that's a problem. So, I guess I need to find bug out locations on the north part of the island where it's geologically more stable, or pray that I don't have to bug out. It's just that bugging in town, if the grid goes down, Kona isn't a big city, but there could be violence. There could be civil unrest and violence over people fighting over food, or if the ship stopped coming and the food runs out 3 days, or the banking system collapses or something like that. It's like that saying, I don't know what we're prepping for exactly, but there's no point in not being prepared, you know. So it's hard to pick your dark event, but there's no point in just doing nothing. It's like, so I don't know. I've been working on my bug out roll. I haven't done any videos on it yet. I'm not going to do a video that just is like a sales thing for the bug out roll. I just wanted, I got one from Canadian Preparedness. It looked pretty useful. And I've been just trying to do, gear it up for contingencies that I might have to deal with here. I'm going to go pick up a cell cock valve. They're useful if you come up on a building and like all the water spouts are missing, which they commonly are. The owners of the building, the manager, whatever, will take out all the water spout controls because they don't want people coming up and using them. So if you have a cell cock valve, then you can go up and use them. And so that's going to be in there, adding. So I'm going to be up at Lowe's tomorrow, and if they don't have one there, I'll go to Home Depot. Let's see. I've got some mosquito netting. I have two hammocks, a shitload of tarps. I could probably use never. I'd say never enough ferrocerium rods. Got like 3 of them. Probably gonna order some more. What's really weird is Amazon won't mail me a fire starting rod. It's like a dangerous item or something. It's like, I'm like, really? Like this is I get the this item is not is a hazardous item that cannot be shipped to your area. Really, you can't send a ferrocerium rod in the mail to Hawaii. Really, I mean, get one from somewhere else besides Amazon. But I don't know. It's the biggest company, and they just have their shipping policies imposed by the post office, I suppose. All right. So logistically, if you're still there, Squib, how much stuff are you going to try? And if you have to walk to Dusty's farm, how much stuff are you going to try and carry?
Whatever fits on my back, I guess.
So you're going to leave a lot of your firearms behind. Obviously, you can't carry everything, right?
Nope, can't, and it just wouldn't be practical anyhow.
Okay, so what do you think you're I know you're going to take your M1, right?
Yeah, I probably just 2 firearms, the M1 Garand and my 1911. I mean, I suppose I could sling the Garand and carry my 12 gauge, and yeah, I mean that would be the very most I would think. I would be a sidearm, a rifle, and a shotgun, but that's still
a lot.
I mean, I can probably just get by with a rifle and a shotgun.
So that's why I was saying you should check out one of those like rickshaw deals, like with a mono.
No, I showed it to my wife. And I got the big thumbs down.
Thumbs down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the big thumbs down.
Are you ever going to practice walking to Dusty's farm once?
Why would I do that when I have a truck? So you want me to take 4 days off work to walk out there?
I'm not telling you to take any days off work.
Okay. Not to mention, it's like, look, if it comes down to it where I've got to get there on foot, it's going to have to be SHTF. Otherwise, I ain't going to do it.
Okay.
And you also not taking into consideration that it's got to be the right circumstances for me to even bug out. We're bugging in to begin with. So if we can see it coming, if there's some sort of advanced warning that something is going to happen where I don't feel it's good for us to stay here, then at that point, we've got vehicles. The gas pumps still work, stuff like that. We would use our vehicles to bug out. If something just happened overnight or in an instant, and we had no warning, and suddenly it was grid down and chaos and blah, 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 I'm going to probably bug in for a few weeks, and then we're going to make it out on foot. I'm going to let some stuff settle. I'm going to let some people die off, kill each other off, whatever you want to call it, and then we're going to bug out on foot.
I'll let nature take its course, is what you're saying.
Kinda. Yep. Bugging out is a last resort for us.
Absolutely. It's generally how I think of it is if your choice is bug out or die, then that's when that's truly your choice. You have to be you have to be situationally aware enough to perceive the threat. That's all. And a lot of people aren't. And it's hard to be situationally aware. It takes a lot of effort, and whatever, it may not be obvious. Whatever dark thing happens may not be, it won't be on the news, or there won't be news. And you'll just have to figure it out for yourself. But
it's kind of like this. They're the people that are going to be in denial. Those people are they're going to doom themselves. And then there's going to be the people that are looking for it to happen, and those people are going to be ready for nothing. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, Yoder Texas said on the YouTube side that you need to get some pack meals if you want to walk and carry gear and food. I mean, in Hawaii,
that would be, we would have that after we move. So when we move out of Michigan, we will have we would like to have a donkey, actually.
There are donkeys that have been used, and there are donkeys in Kona. They used to use them to haul down coffee from the farms to the ships, and so they would sell. They would basically, the donkeys would be carrying sacks of coffee, and they'd load them onto ships. And so there's wild donkeys around here, and I've seen them like trying to cross the highway sometimes. But hell, I've seen chickens up by the Safeway, and there's nobody stopping you from grabbing a chicken up there either. I don't know. I don't think I could grab a donkey without a truck to put it in or some kind of trailer. But the shit hits the fan, I guess you'll just have to figure that kind of thing out. There are donkeys on the Big Island, so wild donkeys.
Yeah, that's we want to rescue a wild burro out west.
A wild what?
Burro.
Okay, maybe it was just the internet playing with me. I couldn't hear exactly what you were. What?
Burro.
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 Burro. Okay, you're trying to be too Taco Bell on me, so you threw me there.
That's what you call a donkey in Spanish, and out there, that's what they call them. They don't call them the
jackasses.
It's not the DNR. It's the BLM. BLM doesn't let you adopt a wild donkey. It lets you adopt a wild burro.
Bureau of Land Management. Okay.
Well, it ain't Black Lives Matter.
I don't think a chicken can carry much Yoder, so chickens have their uses. But chickens are really great for if you have a property and you can have some chickens. You could feed them table scraps, and they'll produce protein. So you turn your throwaway food into eggs. That's a pretty good deal. They don't eat much, and they produce something very useful. So I don't have a problem with somebody who has a chicken coop and a couple of egg layers. Might have a problem with some rooster crowing at like before the sun comes up and waking me up. Because it takes me, it's hard for me to get to sleep sometimes. So anyway, that's a whole other thing. All right. Oh, Dusty went to take a shower. All right. Well, so that's my CZ rifle. We were talking before. Dusty's relative, I forgot which one, said he had the same problem that I was having with the CZ, which was the bolt when it needed to be polished down. It didn't come from the factory very polished, so you can extract a round fine with a bolt. When I want to rechamber and fresh round, I've got to right now. I've been working on it, and it's not as bad as it was. But right now, I've got to like push it with my thumb straight from behind, straight in, and then I don't have any problems doing it. But if I try and use the bolt, they just didn't polish it enough, and so I've got a micro Dremel or mini Dremel or whatever you call it, and I've got some Never Dull, and I'm just slowly working on smoothing the action out on the bolt. But I like this rifle. It's 7.62. It's a CZ527 and a Lupo scope on top. It's 7.62 by 39. I usually fire lethal fusion, brass cased skiv bullets, but it can handle just regular Tula AK ammo as well with the steel casing. So, which I've got tons of. And one thing that I liked about this rifle is that it uses the same ammo as my AK. So if I wanted to pick two rifles, I could pick kind kind of more like the AK for CQB and a hunting rifle for more long range stuff, and use the same ammo. I've never used the brass stuff in my AK, but I doubt there would be a problem. I usually save the more expensive. The lethal fusion is more expensive than Tula, obviously. So skiv bullets for hunting, so it's like legal to use it in hunting areas in Hawaii, as far as I know. Mostly, from what I understand, the DLNR just checks for current hunting license and to make sure you're wearing blaze orange, and that's it. They aren't really checking what types of ammo, although it's in the code. They have issued citations for using only a 22, so you can't take your kid to a hunting area and show them how to shoot with a 22 LR, because the state hunting law doesn't consider that a hunting round. Anyway, just one more of the screwed up laws the state of Hawaii has, but it's in the hunting regs. I think the chief enforcement officer said it was a caliber problem that he wanted to talk to the government, but it's not a caliber problem. It's a constitutional problem. Anyway, so let's see. My bug out roll is what I've been working on all week. But I saw that the local gun shop, which is only open like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nowadays, has some kind of powders. And I'm going to go down there and I think this week, and just in case he has black powder, although I doubt he has it. It's probably just reload powder, for regular smokeless kind of reload. But on the off chance that he has some black powder, I'm going to go down there because I've been thinking about one day getting a black powder pistol, and because I think it would be fun. But how many of those do you have, Squid? Do you have? I know you at one point you were going to do some kind of test with the chronometer on black powder muzzle velocity and feet per second, but probably haven't gotten around to doing that yet due to life.
Well, I'd either have to buy a chronometer or I'd have to go to Dusty's farm and not shoot his again. And because Dusty's so far away, and it's not that I haven't been wanting to go over there, just it'd be a whole day, and that would be on the weekend. And with me being on second shift, the only time I'm with my family is on the weekend. The only time I'm doing stuff around the house is on the weekend. So it's really put a damper on my personal life, which kind of sucks. With the other job I had, even though I worked more hours, I was on day shift and I had lots of paid holidays and lots of vacation time. In this place, I just don't have any of that. So it's made it really hard for me to do something like just take a whole Saturday and go down there. So I mean, I guess I could buy one and do it. I mean, eventually I want one of my own, but I mean, plus Dusty's got his own range, so you know that kind of helps some.
Well, I guess
Right
you make your choices and you know that's just how things are. I was just curious what the muzzle velocity was out of black powder pistols, but I'm not in any rush to find out.
It's going to be under 600 feet per second.
Right. Well, how? Let's see, 600 feet per second. That is pretty slow. But how much? 45 ACP is slow too. What's that? 800 feet or per second?
8 or 9. I mean, you can get some plus speed stuff that's faster, but 8 or 9 for 45 ACP.
That's a big round though. It's like twice as big as the 9mm, right? If memory serves.
9 millimeters, 0.355, 0.356 in diameter, and 45 ACP is 0.451.
Huh. Well, it's not just the diameter, but I don't know. Anyway, it looked like fun. It'd be fun to have a black powder pistol. So it's just hard to get black powder on the Big Island is the problem. Due to the shipping after 9/11, the shipping, the TSA shipping regs that they put in place. That black powder is classified differently as an explosive than like regular smokeless gunpowder. So there isn't very much of it on the Big Island, and it's not carried by the local gun shop. So I never got around to buying a black powder rifle for that, or pistol for that reason so far. But we'll see. It gives me an excuse to go to the local gun shop, I guess. You never need an excuse to go to there, but it's always good to have one. Well, I'll have to go see what kind of powder he has. I haven't been there in like a month or two. So it gives me a good reason to.
I mean, if you want to see how long is this thing? What the heck is it? 33-minute and 43-second video on how to basically shoot a Colt style black powder revolver. I can change my video from private to public.
Sure.
It's almost 34 minutes long. You might fall asleep.
Well, I've done that on videos before, and I just go back later when I'm awake and watch. I'll watch it in the morning. If you can you email me a link to it, and I'll watch it in the morning when I have my coffee. First, I'll check the Bitcoin prices, and then I'll watch your video. How's that? But once I get my coffee going, I won't fall asleep. Because it's like, yeah, coffee is one of those. Yeah, a lot of people in Hawaii are big about their coffee, including me. So I've never been for prepping. I've never gotten into. I mean, I used to have, do the freeze-dried Taster's Choice stuff, but for instant. And I suppose in the if the grid goes down and shit hits the fan, I mean, even Taster's Choice would be preferable to no coffee. But I mean, I like to always keep a bunch of beans, fresh Kona coffee beans around. So I'll probably get some freeze dried and add it to my pantry. But I really prefer fresh Kona coffee beans. So I don't know how that'll be like the first thing I go if there's a sign that the grid is about to go down. I'll just like grab a ton of coffee beans, just max out my credit cards on coffee or something. Let's see. And I think Such had a video on I watched today on how like 20 different uses for coffee filters and shit hits the fan. Like he said you could use it as a emergency breathing mask or something. And I was like, I don't know about that. A paper plate, emergency toilet paper. I don't know, but I do know that like having coffee and then going to look at your coffee filters and realizing you're out of coffee filters, that's a terrible feeling. So that might be a good thing to stock up on and throw in your bug out bag or roll or both. Let's see, more ferrocerium rods, silcock valve. Probably need another multi-tool, wouldn't hurt. Never enough multi-tools, I guess. All right, I'm gonna go check really quick the external, see if anybody's typing out there. Dusty said he got us some water filtration, some Life Straws over the Amazon Prime event. I think I ordered an extra Sawyer mini water filter, so now I have like probably 7 or 8 of them. I don't know. Never enough water filtration. That's the thing. It's like I've got so many flipping bags at this point. I probably have some duplication, but it's like you want to set up your bags individually because I got a bug out bag, a day mission bag, a medical bag, uh, some empty duffel bags I haven't done anything with, and now a bug out roll. So it's like I'm going to have so much duplication, but it's like there's some things that should be in everything, including a water filter and a ferro rod. But because I can't always count on having all my bags with me, I mean, or multiple items. I just want to be able to have one, each bag be able to be self-sustaining all by itself. How do I even get to my Firefox? There it is. Up to Yoder out there, Steve D. Oh yeah, Steve said he was going to come out to Kona. All right. Let's see if anybody's on gun channels. I think Yoder was over there earlier. Yep, just Yoder. Yoder, Texas. What else is happening out there in the world of guns and prepping?
Was that addressed towards me?
Well, it's addressed to all the panelists. Let me put it to you like that. All right, to keep this chat interesting, maybe I'll play the latest volcanic helicopter overflight. All right, let's go screen share this real quick. See how bad things are in Bohiki. It looked to me like the boat ramp parking lot was overrun, but maybe not the boat ramp. A lot of very peaceful places have been overrun. So let's have a look at this. There we go. Can you see this, Squib?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the 22nd. And basically what they're saying is that this could go on for years at this Fisher 8.
And you're going to get on me about having 2 nuclear power plants in my state.
Well, radiation is is a different kind of threat than lava. I mean, and this is on the other side of the island. I mean, I went out to the pool today, and the problem, it was blue skies today, but the problem was somebody else's kids yelling, screaming, like peeing right next to the pool, then jumping back in. Like they'll run out. The mother will say, go to the bathroom, go pee. And then the kid takes 2 steps, pees, and then jumps back in the pool. And the mother can't be bothered to get out of her like floaty or whatever. All right, so it looks to me, is that the boat ramp? Is that, yeah, that looks like Isaac Hale. That's what's left of Isaac Hale. Oh wait. So it's still there. That's the boat ramp. It's still up. At least it was as of the 22nd.
But you don't have a boat.
Well, basically, and I don't know if the road is cut off now by the lava. I think it is. It's basically right near there. I don't have a boat. Let me go right back and have a look at that again. So it looks to me like it's still there. Let's go back and look at this. Yeah, that's the boat ramp. That's the jetty, and people used to basically walk out here, jump out with their surfboards, and surf at the breakwater right there. Or people would just go out just on Red Road here and park. in one of these parking spaces, just walk out and paddle out and go surfing right there. But most of the people hang out here at the breakwater. So this is the boat ramp for this part of the island where people could, you know, if they want to go fishing. Yeah, I don't myself have a boat yet. When one day I would like to get a Donzi, but I don't think there is a Donzi on this island to be bought. So I'd have to buy it from the mainland and have it shipped in and all that stuff. So we'll see. It's on there on my list of stuff to do. You could get a kayak for a lot less, obviously, and but you don't need a boat ramp to go out on a kayak. It makes it easier, but because there's a parking place. Basically, you used to be able to go out here. There'd usually be some kind of food truck, and people would just hang out and have a nice time, go surfing. The real estate guy I used to rent from when I first moved over here, he had a sign in the shop that every Wednesday on his shop door, I leased a house from him, and he basically said, "Gone surfing to Pohiki shop," but you know the real estate office was closed on Wednesday, so he could go surfing every Wednesday. But that's Hawaii for you. All right, I'm going to roll the video again, but I'm glad to see it's still there. I thought it wasn't. It's very close to lava, I guess. So this video was shot on the 22nd. We did lose the Aha Lanui Hot Pond Park, beach park is gone. And I imagine we lost a lot of nearshore fish that just died from hot water, basically got boiled alive. A lot of sea life got taken out. There was a beach, basically this is right where there used to be a marine reserve here. So they basically say this could go on for several years still. That's Fissure 8. So all the lava is sinking down from the top of the mountain and apparently pouring out of Fissure 8 down 4,000 feet lower. So that caldera at the top of the volcano is getting wider and the walls are collapsing. It exposed some sulfuric walls up there. I could find some photos of that on the National Geographic Survey, National Geology Survey website for Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. So, like I said, I don't really want to show volcano video every week, but I think we've got through our main points on Overwatch. A helicopter would come in real handy, or an ultralight to do scouting. I mean, if you were at Dusty's farm and you had enough people, I mean, would you organize patrols every day to patrol? And how far out would you patrol?
No, there'd be no need for daily patrols out there.
Wait, you don't want to be able to keep an eye on intel on what's happening around the property?
Okay, for the 1000th time, he is so remote.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't keep an eye on what's going on around it.
What am I going to do? Count how many deer are out there?
Hopefully, yeah. Best case scenario, yes, that's exactly what you'll do. Oh, wait, is there another video that they just posted up here? All right, let's see the new video. Flow status quo local news. All right. Yeah, I just never heard of not patrolling around your base every day, a daily patrol. I mean, were you ever on a military base where they didn't send out somebody patrol around the perimeter ever?
I mean, in the combat zone, it's a little bit different.
Right. I just wouldn't get lazy about patrolling.
It would be a waste of resources.
What resources? Just energy, people, manpower?
That's part of it.
Oh, well, don't you think it would be good to just do a patrol to keep everybody focused and like and sharp?
There's enough work around the farm. Everybody would be focused and sharp and occupied.
It's a different kind of work, but I would think that I'd want to do a patrol every day, and hopefully all you would see is deer. That's how I would do it. I would not patrol the area. That's just doesn't make any sense to me. Even if there's nothing, hopefully, like there's nothing. You said there wouldn't be anything out there, but
I don't think that you've ever really lived anywhere that rural.
let's see. Well, I lived. Kapoho is pretty rural. I lived out there. It's like a jungle on the edge of the world, but and there's like one road in and one road out, and now it's covered in lava. I mean, I could show you where I lived on a map. But, let's see. Put it on a map real quick. Hawaii. You just find any property. Here's one that's too small, but let me go on a Google map to show you where I used to live when I first moved out here. Okay, I used to live right here. And the nearest town, the nearest excuse of a town. So I used to live by these tide pools right here, right about here. And the nearest town is Pahoa. And back then, it didn't even have a strip mall. All this little town was there's a high school. There was the Island Naturals Deli. It was like a natural food store. And there was the Pahoa Cash and Carry, which went out of business after they built a strip mall, which wasn't there. And there was a gas station. And there was Le Guin's Mexican restaurant burned down. That used to be you could go there for breakfast or something. It's a little Mexican joint. And there was a Thai food place that's still there, I think. I hope the Thai food place is there. There's a really good Thai cook there, but it was like a nothing town. There was corrugated tin shacks across from Le Guin's, and there was a little farmer's market every Sunday. But Paul's Repair, I mean, this was like the corrugated tin shacks with all the hypodermic needles. You drive through that town, it was like civilization stopped at 1950 and didn't proceed, basically. Ever since they put in the strip mall, now there's that was like a shock. Now there's like a few conveniences. There was the post office that was there, but this strip mall right here, this didn't used to be here, but now there's a Malama like grocery store market, and I mean, this was like not. I mean, Pahoa Cash and Carry, I mean, it was like this tiny little store. It wasn't much more than a gas station convenience store. I mean, maybe a little more than a gas station convenience store, but not by much. And that was the grocery store, unless you wanted to drive all the way the fuck into Kayao or Hilo, which was a long ass drive.
The nearest town to Dusty, which is far away, is smaller than that. Much, much smaller.
So it's like you got to go through this forest reserve, which is now about, you know, the roads are closed from because they're over smaller than that. So smaller than this town, really? I mean, they took out the corrugated tin shacks, used to be right across from Le Guin's. This all used to be...
Well, they got 4 churches.
4 churches? This one is where they set up the temporary shelters for the Sacred Heart Church of Pahoa. That's where they set up the temporary little houses for people that have lost their homes or their rentals or whatever. What other church is there? That one I know about, the Sacred Heart Church of Pahoa. I don't even know about it yet.
The town nearest to him has got a gas station, an Ace Hardware, a Dairy Queen, and 4 churches.
Oh, you've got an Ace Hardware? Jesus.
Dude, everybody's got an Ace Hardware.
Not Pahoa. I think Pahoa does now. Does it have a Ace Hardware now? Well, when they built the strip mall, it didn't used to. They used to be like the Pahoa. What was it? Let me see if it's still there. The farm thing, the seed place. Jeepers. Oh, they have a pool. I've never been in that pool. Miller Center. Jeff Hunt surfboards. Yeah, that's he made my surfboard. Have not been surfing in forever. I don't have a boat, but I have a surfboard, so I could go paddle if I had to. Pahoa Seed or something like that. I forget what it is. This strip mall is new, basically. It didn't used to be there. What's that? Pahoa Feed and Fertilizer. That was it. That's it. That was as close as you had to an Ace Hardware. I think there is an Ace Hardware now in the strip mall that they built. But that was like a shocker to see a strip mall there. And basically this Bank of Hawaii, I use that bank, but there's usually like a bunch of drug dealers hanging out by the ATM because that's where people come and get their money. So they're always trying to sell you a bag of weed if you go by that bank. And it's like surrounded by all the drug dealers stack up at the ATM. Which is amazingly, because it's like just down the street from the police station. I mean, it's not really a station. It's more like a tiny little office that says police on it. It's like a community thing that says, well, community police. It's not really where the police station is, but there's some place where some cop usually parks a car and it says police. Mostly the police just, they get paid by the state to, if they get paid by the federal government, I think, for handing out seatbelt tickets if you're not wearing your seatbelt. So you don't want to drive through Pahoa not wearing your seatbelt because that's really all they check for. If you're not wearing a seatbelt, they will give you a ticket for that because it's because of some federal funding thing for that. Don't ask me. Well, they've got a kava bar now. Ning's Thai Cuisine. That place is great. I absolutely love it. But yeah, before I found out that Island Naturals is owned by like one of the left-wing politicians, Rudderman. Of course, they're all left-wing politicians. It's like, I don't know. I don't go to any Island Naturals, but I used to before I knew that, because it was like one of the very few choices where you could get decent food. I mean, cash and carry was like, like I said, not much more than a gasoline mini mart. But so Dusty's town. What's the name of the town that you're saying is smaller than that?
The nearest town to his house is Quincy, Michigan.
Quincy, Michigan.
Yeah.
And it's smaller than this?
Dude, it's tiny. I've drove through there before. So I'm using Google Maps to do a distance from his farm to the next nearest farm. So if you go due west through 2 fields, 3 fields, and some woods, it's 1 mile to get to the nearest farm to the west. Now his neighbor to the north that's only got to be a couple hundred feet. Measure distance.
By the way, all the homes that I'm screen sharing in my screen share are no longer here. They've all been overrun by lava. But okay, I'm gonna go look at what you're screen sharing.
And if I go, I'm not screen sharing.
Oh.
And then if I go to the house to the south, distance to here. That's okay. So the house to the south of him is 2/3 of a mile. The house to the north is a 1/4 mile. The house to the west is, I should say, farm to the west is 1 mile, and to the east, the nearest building is let's see, measure distance to here is just over a mile.
All right, so I'm just going to ask the obvious question. Of all those houses and neighbors that you just described, I know that he's not on good terms with one of them. Are any of those people preppers? Or are they going to be at Dusty's farm asking for free stuff?
I don't know, but he's got me to deal with that. If he doesn't have the stomach to deal with it, I'll deal with it.
Well, they know the land, and are any of his neighbors professional snipers? This would be the first question. Did any of them go to Marine sniper school or something like that?
The only one with a direct line of sight from their second floor window to his house is the guy to the north. But it's vice versa. It wouldn't be very much to hide in Dusty's tree line and shoot right back. Everybody else is separated by farm fields, woods, small lakes. I mean, it's a patchwork of farms. If you looked at it on a map, you'd see a bunch of brown and green in different shades in a bunch of rectangular patterns.
I'm just saying it would behoove Dusty to be on good terms with his neighbors as possible. I know sometimes it's not possible. Believe me, I know. But if just practically and tactically, if you can get along with your neighbors and the shit hits the fan, and prevent them from at least becoming enemies and turn them into assets somehow, that would be preferable to the alternative. So that's something to work on, something to think about. Would help to know your neighbors anyway, and try and get along with them. I know I'm not good at that myself either. So, but it's something it's one of those things you have to consciously work on, like group dynamics. But
there's nobody here in my township that I could count on.
Well, your family, you got your family, so
that's not what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm not planning on moving to Michigan, but if I was in Michigan, you could count on me, Squib. At least up to a point. Until we'd be sitting there, the shit hits the fan and the apocalypse happens, and we'd be arguing about Bitcoin or something while they sneak up on us.
Yeah, I'd be like, see, it's totally worthless right now, isn't it?
We'd be arguing about it while they were sneaking up on us with optics.
Like past the mountain house.
Past the mountain house, dude. Well, that's another thing. How am I logistically going to get all my preps to Michigan? I mean, I would need like a C-147 or something.
Is there even such an aircraft?
Or the C-47, that was the World War II one, isn't it? What's the current?
I thought you said 147. Like, I didn't know they had one of those.
Well, what's the Hercules number for the Hercules?
C-130.
C-130. Okay, sorry. I got my numbers confused. Well, so how far is it to the nearest bar from Dusty's farm? Because if I'm going to visit, I'm not going to want to just hang out at the farm all day. There's no action. I want to go down and talk to some pretty girls or something at a bar or something like that.
I don't know what sort of girls you think are out there in the country, but
well, how far is it to the nearest bar where there's action?
Hold on a second. Directions from here. Scroll back, scroll back, scroll back, scroll back, scroll back.
In East Hawaii, we'd always have to drive to Ka'au, and it was, I don't know if the bar is still the same. I mean, I'm sure the bar is still there. I don't know if it has the same owner. I can't even remember the flipping name of the bar in Ka'au. It's been that long. Ken's or something like that. Ken's bar. I can't even remember.
90 minutes.
90 minutes?
Yep.
Oh, so I can't just get drunk and drive back. I'd have to take a taxi for 90 miles to get back.
Dude, we don't have taxis in Michigan.
Wait, we have Uber?
Yeah, there's Uber. I mean, but yeah, there's no taxis in this state. We don't have public transportation either.
So it's a 90-minute drive just to go have a drink at a bar where there might be a girl. Okay.
Where there will definitely be females, yes.
Well, that's a problem.
Out where Dusty's at, if you want to pick up chicks, you go into the nearest podunk town and you go to one of them 4 churches on a Sunday and you behave, and maybe you'll meet yourself a nice girl.
Well, I'm not going to meet myself a nice Jewish girl at a church. I meet a nice girl.
Okay, now you want me to find you a synagogue? Oh my goodness, I'm going to go even further out.
Yeah, or a Chabad house.
I'll put it this way. If you want to go to a bar that is close to Dusty's house where you're going to be able to pick up chicks, you are actually closer to Canada than you are to his farm.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work out. I'm going to be bored as shit. If the shit hits the fan, I'm going to be bored shitless.
Do you see why I say I am not worried about anybody coming out there to take our stuff? You see why I'm not worried about snipers? You see why I'm not worried about patrolling?
That doesn't mean you should not do patrols. I mean, there's just a way that things should be done. If you're going to have a base...
What the hell am I going to patrol?
The surrounding area.
Which is a bunch of fields, woods, and lakes.
Okay. Get yourself a walk every day. Practice group dynamics. Practice working as a team. Practice anything. I mean, come on.
That can be done on the confines of this farm. When we need to go out, we'll go out. But when we don't need, if we don't need to go out, we're staying put. If we needed to go to one of the lakes to go fishing, we want to make sure that...
Oh, I lost Squib just when he was saying something important about fishing. Now, the reason I don't do fishing myself on the Big Island is the fear from ciguatera, which is in tropical places like Hawaii, or I think like the Caribbean. Ciguatera is toxic reef algae that basically goes up through the food chain. All right. I'm sorry, you were talking about fishing.
If we needed to go to one of the lakes to go fishing, we'd have to watch each other's backs on the way there, just in case we're walking across somebody's property to get to one of these lakes and they're not dead yet, and they're not really too particular about people fishing from their on their farm.
How close is the fishing location to Dusty's farm?
A couple miles either direction.
Okay, so
Overwatch Michigan law says that the entire coastline of Michigan is public property. However, in SHTF, you can't wave that in anybody's face. Even in normal society, if you own the land and you have to walk across somebody's property to get to that coastline, you're trespassing on their property. The only way is to access it from a public boat launch and to land on the beach.
What I used to do in Malibu when I lived across from Rambla Pacifica was I would go down across the street to the Union 76 station, sneak on the beach and back to the Union 76 station, and then I could walk all in front of this really nice beach that had lots of expensive houses, and I did that all the time. Because once you're on the beach, it's public beach. But yeah, getting on there can be. I just had to know that there was a way to sneak on there from the gas station. So those guys at the gas station would always see me coming, and I just ignore them and walk onto the beach. You had to like climb down a wall, basically, a retaining wall.
Well, around here, there's plenty of people who have property on the lake. And if you were in a boat on the lake and you landed on the beach, that would be in their backyard, they would try to shoo you off. By law, they can't touch you. You could actually throw a beach party on the sand, and you're in their backyard at their multi-million-dollar lakefront house.
Yeah, see, there's usually some rule about the mean tide and stuff like that.
If you pulled up on the street and tried to walk through their yard to get to the beach under the auspices of all shoreline in Michigan is public property, you have to trespass on their land to do it. And that's usually how they keep people from...
Right, but isn't there, they usually have laws that require a public access path when they build these communities on the shorelines. They usually a sign that says...
These aren't communities. These are people with land. They got money.
Well, you think the places in Malibu didn't cost a shit ton of money on the beach? Yeah, but there's a yellow sign and a stairway, that concrete stairway going down that's a public access once every so many miles. At least that's how it is in Malibu. But that's in California, where they have, environmentalists that demand access for the people to the ocean. And
yeah, I've been to the beaches out there, wherever.
But I can understand that. It's just, are there any fish in this fishing location that you're talking about 2 miles from Dusty's farm?
Probably. I mean, I've never gone there to go fishing. I don't even like fishing.
Well, you're talking about a protein source if the shit hits the fan, so you might want to see.
I'll do it in SHTF. Otherwise, I ain't bothering with it.
Well, you may want to see if there's any fish there before the shit hits the fan, so you'll know if you'll be wasting your time or not.
Okay, I don't know of any lakes or rivers in Michigan that don't have fish, but I've never fished these. I mean, I'm not aware of any that don't.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna have to trust that you know Michigan better than I do. So, but if you, like you said, you don't like fishing. I don't fish here, I was saying, because of the ciguatera. I don't eat reef fish because of it's a reef toxin that builds up in the small fish. The big fish eat the small fish. Somebody goes and catches a lua or a ono fish, and those fish eat the smaller fish that eat the reef toxins. And um, there's seasons for ciguatera, but basically it builds up, and once you get it in your system, you can't get it out. And there's like no cure really that's known for ciguatera, and there's no test for it to test the fish. That the University of Hawaii built a test for it. So basically, and it turned out to not work. But even though they sold it as a test, but it was bogus. It didn't work, and they eventually figured it out. And so I just don't eat reef fish. When I go to like a poke shop or Safe by Poke at Safeway, I only get the deep fish, ahi, tuna, poke, or sushi if I'm in a sushi shop, because there might be some ono from a reef fish, and I just don't want to take a risk on getting ciguatera. It's basically a reef toxin that builds up in your system, and it goes up the food chain from the small fish to the big fish. And being at the top of the food chain, if you eat reef fish, you can get ciguatera. And there's no test for it, there's no cure for it, and it's not fun. So I just eat I just pay a little more and eat the deep sea tuna. But that's why I don't really have fishing in my preps. And you would think I would in Hawaii because we're surrounded by ocean everywhere. I guess hunger drives people, but it would be a risk that I wouldn't want to take at first. So I'd rather hunt boar than go fishing. Although I would enjoy the fish more than eating the boar, but it's just you have to know your area and know what the risks are of the various different kinds of things you're planning on eating. Not having a boat and any tuna fishing experience, although I could get some. There's a lot of, they have a bill fishing, sail fishing tournament every year here. That's a big thing in Kona, contest. But that's more of a sporting thing for fun, not survival fishing, which is different. There used to be people that went to the marine sanctuary and would just throw out a net and grab anything, and even though it was totally illegal because it was like subsistence fishing, and which is no matter what the federal law is, since if you're a native Hawaiian, then you can do that. But I just didn't want to take a chance on reef fish. But there was plenty of fish, like of course off Kapoho, but they're basically not there anymore because Kapoho's not there anymore. It's all just active lava flow into the ocean right now. So, well, sometimes beautiful places on the earth, they're just there for a little while. And you have to just, all I've got are my memories of the place. But it was like a jungle on the edge of the world. So it's not just how far it was. I mean, you're sitting on like the most remote landmass island on the planet from any continental landmass. Hawaii is like, it's 3,000 miles from anywhere. And it's just, and you're living on the very east tip of the island. It's like a jungle on the edge of the world. And, you know, what's really funny, since we were talking about snipers, is the reason I moved out of there was because, I don't know if I said this before, but basically I had rented this house across the street from the ocean, and unbeknownst to me, it was like for like $800 a month, I got this 3-bedroom, 2-story house, and I could just walk out to along a path to the ocean through a little lava field that was not active, of course, but in this little house behind me, unbeknownst to me, they had somebody who had rented this. I didn't even know there was a little house behind it until there was basically a couple that lived there, and they always had fights. And it was like one night, it was like the screen doors came off, and basically the girl was beating up the guy, and it was like a massive fight at like 2 in the morning. And I was like, I didn't move. If I want to hear fighting, I will go back to LA and start dubbing movies again, and then people can yell at each other all they want. But I didn't move all the way out here to listen to people like beat the crap out of each other like 2 feet away from my door. So I told the owner, like, I told the leasing guy at first, like, if you don't fix this, I'm not, you can consider this lease over, terminated, because it's untenable. And it turned out that, I hadn't known the guy, and basically he was cheating on his wife, who used to be a hooker or something, but back in the day. So, and she beat the crap out of him. But the guy was like this, he was an Army sniper who used to do Overwatch at the White House. So I imagine he knew what he was doing. So it was funny because I went in to complain to the real estate guy, and he says, well, if they were to sublet the apartment, and if they just were sublet that house and the owner didn't even sign off on it, that they don't have any legal right to be there, I'll just go down there and tell him to vacate the premises immediately, and he'll have to do it. And just let me ask you one question: does this person have any history of violence? And I said, he's an Army sniper. And he was like, well, you're on your own, kid. I'm not going to do anything. And so I just figured, basically, I called up the landlord, the guy who owned the property in California, and he was like, well, I'm going to let him stay there because, and it's like, okay, well, this lease is over. I'm not paying you any more money. Goodbye. He's like, well, wait. So he calls up the guy and tells him that I insisted on having him thrown off of the property. So now I've got the sniper who's mad at me. And he didn't just move off. So, and he said, basically the guy who owned the place says, well, I would have let you stay, but the guy didn't want to continue the lease, so I have to throw you off the property, but it's his fault. So, gee, thanks for setting me up as the bad guy and this pissing this. I figured the guy was mad at me, but he wasn't going to snipe me. So he would like drive by and give me the finger sometimes, and I would just wave at him and laugh. But I wasn't going to stay there. I just said that, the place is untenable. When they started doing construction, because this was during the real estate boom, and they were doing construction right next door, and it was noisy as all get up. And I was like, it's a nice place, but I'll move somewhere else. And I found a different rental on the other side of the island. And then I wound up in a condo in Kona. Long story short, and Kapoho is no longer there. The house that I lived in is no longer there. Kapoho isn't there. The hot pond isn't there. It looks like that from the overflight I saw. I seen a few oversight flight videos, and on the one that I just played, it looked like the Isaac Haley boat ramp was still up and there. I hope it is, but whatever happens will happen. I know the road there is, you can't drive there or anything, but we'll see what happens over time. It's just, I can't imagine anybody building there anytime soon. If they're basically saying it'll be lava for years, lava flowing from Fissure 8 for years, that's not gonna happen. Anyway, so I was talking earlier, I forgot whether it was in the pre-chat or on the show, about the police had lost an officer a week ago or so when he pulled over a felon with a couple of felony warrants, no bail warrants out on him, and at a traffic stop, and the felon got out of the car and he had a gun and he fired 2 shots and killed this police officer. So there was like an APB, and the FBI had a reward, and the U.S. Marshals had a reward for this, to hunt down this cop killer. And like across the street, over one street on Henry, basically on my block, there was the cops got a kind of a false tip. I mean, that because he was driving the same kind of primer coat paint truck, Toyota Tacoma, and the same, I guess the bad guy, the cop killer was driving, but it wasn't him. But the police didn't know that. The car came back as stolen. When the police showed up, they tried to block it. He was basically just a car thief, but it led into a running gun battle up down the highway all the way from Kona on Henry Street to Napa'o Road in past Captain Cook in Honau, where I used to live actually. They just ditched the truck, ran into the coffee field. But it's like the police didn't really identify who their target was. I think they shouldn't be they were actively shooting along the highway while they were chasing this guy, and that just during rush hour. And there's just one belt road around the island. I really think they need to identify their targets before they start shooting on a public highway on the off chance that it might be the cop killer and that they were after. I understand the tensions are high, but you have to identify your targets before you start shooting up on a public highway, because it wasn't the cop killer. It was just some guy who stole a Toyota Tacoma. They should have just followed him and wait for him to ditch his car, which is what happened, except they were shooting at him on the highway. It's like they could have hit anybody while they were doing that. I don't know. It just seems it's not an accurate way to shoot at somebody and make sure you hit your target driving a car down a curvy highway. The roads suck. There's a cliff down one side. It's just an easy way to get a bunch of people killed. Anyway, the police got their man. The cop killer's dead. Shot it out. One more officer was wounded in the shootout down somewhere around South Point. I think that black sand. It was near that black sand beach that I had a video on, Kahului, around South Point, so that's where they got the bad guy from the shooting. It was like basically some judge let him out on bail, and he basically had 2 felony warrants and no bail felony warrants on him when he got pulled over by the officer that was killed. And basically the bad guy just jumped out of his car and immediately shot him as soon as he was pulled over, because I'm assuming because he didn't want to go to jail. Nobody will know for sure because he's dead, which is just, I mean, if you shoot a cop, you're in for a world of hurt, and I understand. Probably he just didn't want to go back to jail, and somehow he got his hand on an illegal gun, and police did their job, if you ask me. Except they shouldn't have. They need to identify their targets before they go shooting up a highway, and because if you're shooting at somebody in a moving vehicle, you've got the glass, you've got ricochets, you've got drivers going in both directions. And if you're lucky enough to hit the bad guy, then he could just do who knows what. If he loses control of his car, who he's gonna run into. And when you have a sheer cliff that goes several hundred feet straight down on the side of a lot of these roads here on the Belt Highway, it's not the best place for a gunfight. In moving vehicles on the Belt Road. I thought it was reckless endangerment, if you ask me, by the police. So that's my soapbox on that shootout. And it started just in the gas station across the street from on Henry, just down from where the tunnels place is. Just, I don't know, about a few hundred yards from the tunnels, homeless camp that I did talked about on last week's show. All right, so let me ask you this, Squib, if you're still there. Have you ever done Overwatch when you were in the military?
Sort of.
What does that mean? Sort of.
Well, I mean, we were doing some training, and we were assaulting the town, and the other team was defending the town. And they said, "Hey, since you got that machine gun, why don't you go up on the hill and lay down some suppressive fire. And I wanted to run into town like Rambo with the machine gun, so somebody found me a tripod. I can't stand them damn things. And I sat up on the hill with the machine gun, and
Wait, doesn't the tripod help you hit what you're aiming at
not
by
me,
providing
not the way
a
I
steady
shoot.
base?
Not the way I shoot.
You don't need a steady base to. It doesn't help, really? Okay. I've never shot
The
an
thing is that,
M60, so you would know more
so
than me.
here's the thing. If you've got it mounted on a vehicle, it sure beats carrying the damn thing. If you've got it in a fixed position, like a defensive position, you've got it on a tripod, and you've got a field of fire, and that's just the area you're at. But when you're above a town and people are moving around and you're trying to hit multiple buildings, I don't know. For me, it just didn't work. So,
The tripods don't. You don't have any declination if it's on a
oh,
tripod.
you do, but we were kind of hidden. We had two bushes on either side, so I had this narrow, like I could traverse the gun to the left and to the right, where I'd have to shoot through the bushes. I can't see what I'm aiming it at. So I did what you said not to do. I stood up.
Skylined yourself. Yeah, that makes
Yep.
you.
Well, guess what? The judges scored him all his kills. I was shooting, and I had the traverse and elevation device on the back. I popped that thing off so I could just turn it side to side. I still couldn't. I could only get a beat on one building. So I pulled the pin, and I stood up with that thing, and I just let it rip. And we're all using blanks, but we got judges all over, and they're scoring based on how we're behaving. And they did not want me to stand up, but I think the guy could see that I couldn't see where I was shooting until I stood over top of the bushes. Well, let me tell you, when you let an M60 go, you're laying down so much fire that if they're going to try to shoot back at you, unless they're in a hidden position like a sniper, right? You're probably going to see them as they see you, or before they have a chance to react. All I know is I just let that thing go on everybody that was down below that was in an enemy uniform, and the judges scored it as kills. So that's the closest I come to Overwatch.
Right.
I mean, it's just not something that I would normally do. Normally, I had the thing, I carried it. I would support. We would be on a patrol, or we would be guarding a certain position, and I just carried the damn thing. I mean, when you're.
Can I ask a question real quick? What was the cyclic rate of fire on an M16?
I think it was 700 rounds per minute. I know it's less than M16A1.
I saw an interesting show on Iwo Jima on the History Channel, and they had one of the Marines had taken basically they had this modified aircraft gun they called it a Stinger, and they used it to assault bunkers. They modified it with like a Browning bipod, and they set it up so it could be hand carried, and it was basically an anti-aircraft gun mounted on the back of some. It was on the back of some airplanes that on Guadalcanal that were just like shot up and not usable. So they just modified them. They called it Stingers, and I think it was like 1,300 rounds per minute or something crazy. And they used it to assault some bunkers. Or like there's some famous people that they were talking about specifically. I don't know if it was Joel Stein or somebody. I can't remember everybody's name in the show, but they were talking about it, and it was just like improvising aircraft weapon and making it carryable. And it was like one of the first. Was it a 1919 machine gun or something that they turned into a Stinger or something like that? But it was like basically it had such a rate of fire that what they would shoot it in. They would assault the bunkers. They would just aim it at the gun slots, and there was, if they could get any rounds in, they would just bounce around inside the bunker and ricochet all over and cause all kinds of havoc inside. And they took out quite a few bunkers with those. So it was interesting because it was an improvised weapon that wasn't like issued to be used that way. So,
well, you ask about rate of fire. Typically, I didn't fire my M60 in a full burst. One reason was I never had more than one barrel for it. Never had a spare barrel for it. And the other reason was I didn't need to empty a 100-round belt into anything. I mean, that time I was up the hill, that's probably one of the few times that I ever just let that thing rip other than playing around with the thing. I would usually squeeze off short bursts, but I mean the same thing shooting a 50 cal out the side of a helicopter. It's short bursts. It's not very often. Now, a minigun's a little bit different. It spools up and spools down, and it's, if you don't fire it, I mean, there's no way to slow it down really. But if you don't fire it a certain way, you could actually jam it. But that's a different kind of weapon. The guys really didn't like taking the damn miniguns up. They preferred the 50 cals, and those things shot slow, but them big rounds would punch through damn near anything. So instead of just pulling the trigger back until it stopped shooting, you would let rip a short burst, and then you'd find another target and you'd let rip a short burst. And at least that's the way I did most of my shooting with it. Even a long burst might only be 1/3 of the belt. It's just I wasn't, even though I carried a machine gun most of the time, just laying down this high rate of fire really wasn't in our doctrine.
Unless you were in a remote fire base surrounded and overrun, I guess you wouldn't need to.
Well, I mean, at that point, really, a lot of stuff is out the window at that point. But they're going to have to be so close together that holding down the trigger, you're literally mowing them down, and they just keep coming. If they're not that close together, then you're just wasting ammo and burning up barrels.
That is how the Chinese did it. I'm glad you weren't ever in one of those situations, like in a remote location like Dusty's farm. But anyway.
The whole thing is, I hear a lot of guys talk about NFA items and full auto and full auto and full auto and full auto. And you want to know what it is? It's two things. One, they never shot a full auto. They need to pop the cherry. And two, they think that a high rate of fire makes up for the fact that you can't hit the broadside of a barn with a gun because you don't know what you're doing. And it doesn't. I mean, it can up to a certain point. But for most stuff, somebody who knows what they're doing with a firearm, who's got a decent semi-automatic firearm, can outshoot somebody who has no clue, who's just doing spray and pray. But spray and pray will make you keep your head down. And that's the main reason it's there. The main reason the full autos are there, that's why they don't give everybody a machine gun. It's because you're using it for suppressive fire. On occasion, you use it for some other stuff. But its primary purpose is suppressive fire. So if I was setting up on the grain silo with an M60 at Dusty's farm, it would be because we're being attacked and I'm trying to get those guys to keep their heads down so that my guys down on the ground can advance and get closer so they can get a more accurate shot at them with semi-automatic rifles.
Yeah, the military theory is, I think, called establishing a superior rate of fire. And then that does keep the bad guys' heads down. So you can
use it to shoot at targets at distance and big targets and things like that. When I was shooting at everybody in the town, I put down so much fire that's why the judges scored it as all kills, because I was just going nuts up there.
So they gave you credit for killing the opposing force and some of the judges, probably.
Well, no, because I mean we were using blanks, and everybody had blanks, but we didn't have any miles gear, and so they had to have judges all over. But these are experienced Marines and stuff like that, and they were and you know, they might have just marked it as a damn, this guy just went Rambo, so whatever. But it's not really the way we're trained. It's not really. I mean, there's a time and place to go bananas with it, but accurate single shot, one kill, accurate fire is more deadly than a machine gun any day. It's just a machine gun is scarier.
Yeah, nobody wants to discharge into a machine gun mess.
And that's what they're there for. The machine gun, you're laying down so much fire that if they are crazy enough to charge your position, you're going to chop them to pieces. And that's going to scare them into getting down and moving slow. And that will buy your people time to advance on them. Machine gun is a supporting weapon system. It's not a primary weapon system. See, the Germans used it where they had the machine gun was the main weapon, and everybody around just supported the machine gun. And we had it where the rifle was the main weapon and the machine gun supported it.
Now, we adopted when you're talking about the Germans, you're referring to the Battle of the Somme, where the British generals just said, "Oh, go over, send everybody over the top," not realizing.
No, I'm talking about the Nazis in World War II. But we adopted a lot of their technology and tactics after World War II because we found out that some of their stuff worked better. It's just we were better at fighting than them. And we said we're gonna add this to ours, and you get kind of a hybrid of the best of both. With
the Germans were good. The German army is not that they were bad at fighting; they just started a war with everybody.
That was a big problem, but you'll find that a bunch of those guys did not want to be there. They did not want to be there, and they had their own internal problems and blah 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 blah. And we can get into the strategy versus the tactics, but in general, the fighting spirit of the American was far superior to that of the Germans.
However, and they lost on logistics too.
Well, yeah, but I mean that happens in war. But the Germans, in some ways, had better weapons and better tactics, and some better equipment. And after the war, we adopted some of that and added it to our own, as far as technology, tactics, equipment, and the modern fighting doctrine of the U.S. military has some of that integrated into it.
And just
don't think the Russians didn't study them too.
No, I think what I know that when Germans had a lot of problems with logistics, especially oil and fuel and gasoline, that was their Achilles heel, and so along with bad leadership. I mean, on having Hitler as Hitler was more afraid of his own generals than he was of turning against them than he was of any foreign army. But in the end, he was he started a war with the whole world, basically, and the world eventually kicked his ass. And I couldn't think of a person that deserved it more. But obviously, not everybody in Germany was evil, as Hitler was. But certainly, the people that suffered the most because of Adolf Hitler, I mean, I won't say the most, but a lot was the German people themselves. And as a grandson of a Holocaust survivor, yeah, the Germans got screwed over by Hitler, but so did the whole rest of the planet. So I guess misery loves company. I don't know. Let's see. All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say as far as the whole Overwatch thing. If you are going to bug in, I try to figure out a way to not skyline yourself. If you're going to be sit on your roof, don't stand on it. But you might want to put some kind of something so you just aren't like so visible when you're doing Overwatch on your house. Let's see. I guess I'm just working on. I'm just going to be working on my bug out roll, and I'm going to visit the gun shop this week. Check out what kind of powders they have. Not into reloading yet, but I haven't been to the gun shop in a few months, so I'm overdue. Let's see what else is going on. Let me check the YouTube external, see if anybody's typing anything interesting over there. Other people's boats, yeah. there is a harbor, and other people do have boats there. I mean, you're gonna buy the New Jersey. Well, you're gonna have to sail it from New Jersey to Hawaii, because New Jersey is in New Jersey now, right?
Yes.
So that'll cost a lot in fuel. However much the boat costs. I don't know how many miles per gallon it gets, but I assume it's not good. All right, let me ask you this: what is the possibility in Michigan of like buying a milsurp tank or armored vehicle? I mean, even like World War II vintage, some kind of armored vehicle. Is that like a doable thing in Michigan?
I've never seen any place out here that sells them, but I mean, I know you can go online and find them. I just don't know if they're here.
Do you think it'd be cool to have an armored vehicle on Dusty's farm if the shit hit the fan? Do you think it'd be useful?
I mean, it's just like having a helicopter. There's a lot of maintenance and stuff like that. But you know what? No, you can't. There was that armored vehicle down the street. Somebody was buying it. It was on a railroad car for a flatbed for like a month. And the biggest air show they have in Michigan is called Thunder Over Michigan. And they bring out all the World War II reenactment guys. So they've got the Krauts out there and the GIs, and I don't know where they're coming from, if they're here in Michigan or if they come from another state. But I mean, they got you know what? I'm not even sure what it is. It's kind of like they've got half tracks. They've got half tracks out there. During the air show, they'll go out on the grassy part of the field there, and they'll have a little battle between the Americans and the Germans, and a bunch of half tracks and pyrotechnics going off and the whole 9 yards. So,
all right, I'm trying to find my eBay link here. Come on, let's go on eBay and do a quick search before we end the show on armored vehicles or something. I could find something. Maybe I have a link under my prepper thing. Okay, MRE zone. Prepping UK. I know I have a link for it somewhere, but I'm just gonna do a basic search on. Yeah, I'm not gonna try and go through. I have so many damn bookmarks. It's ridiculous. Okay, eBay. Tank. Let's see what shows up. I'll probably get fish tanks. Oh, Army tank, eBay. All right, that looks like a. Oh, these are models, not real ones. I don't want a model of a World War II tank. I want a real tank. Come on, man. Refined results. Browse related. Military tank. Just models, really? Oh, come on.
Let's see here. I think this is over in Europe. This can't. These are all European tanks. This can't be in America. Yeah, these are all in Europe. Damn European crap.
I did a show once on
Yeah,
Bug
tanks
Out.
UK. EU.
Tanks for nothing.
I don't think this is in America. Let's see. Is this in America? Blah, blah, blah. Nope, it's in euros, so no, it isn't.
Mil Serp.
Jeeps.net.
Improved combat shelters.
Where is this thing located? Okay, Wisconsin, $300,000.
Okay, can you do a screen share?
No, I'm on my phone and my, I don't know. It's armyjeeps.net. Army Jeeps is one word.
All right, I mean, Army.
Here, there's one in California. You want a Leopard tank?
A Leopard tank. Army. Oh, give me the name of the website again.
Armyjeeps.net. Army Jeeps is all one word. ARMYJEEPS.net. There we go. FMTV Wrecker, 150,000. Damn. Here's another 250,000. Oh, this is in Germany. Screw that.
All right, it's a standby. I got a screen share coming in a minute.
You can get a reproduction Japanese tank for 135,000.
All right, URIG military vehicle sales and appraisals. All right, where's the screen share button? All right, this is the fun part of the show where we get to buy a tank.
Yeah.
Need a Patreon account for this, man. All right, can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, so there's a tank of some kind. That's their picture. Welcome to URIG military. Half-tracks, M20, MK10, Chieftain. Those are the ones that the British can't work, I think. 252,000.
Sherman, $275,000. It's in Newhall, California.
Well, I hate to have to drive it to Michigan. Let's see. So, armor and tracked. The Leopard is in Santa Margarita. All right, well, let's look at the Leopard. What do they have? A Pirates? Okay, well, skull and crossbones. I assume that it's in that. I assume they have somehow rendered the gun non-operable. Those bastards in California. I'll leap to that conclusion. The gas pedal probably still works, or and the brakes, hopefully. 280,000 for that. Military wrecker. Lots of Humvees. BMY Harsco. A Cadillac Gauge V100 Commando armored car. That might be cool. 165,000. A Land Rover Piglet. That's only 19,500. Oh, but it's only a Land Rover. Leopard 1A5 tank, 248,000. Oh, location Germany. That's what you were when you were complaining about. Okay. Martyr 1A3 infantry fighting vehicle, roadworthy. 295,000.
Yeah, it's got rubber treads, so that's why it's roadworthy.
Okay, yeah, you can't take regular tracks on a public highway, probably.
Right. 600 horsepower diesel.
And it doesn't say where in the USA. It just says USA. That covers a lot
It's
of
in
territory.
Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin.
Okay, just stone throws from Michigan. All right, so I have to show up at Dusty's farm with one of these things. And a shit ton of Mountain House. Like, did somebody order like 500 number 10 cans of Mountain House? Deliver it in this. Wait, was that a...
It's a damn kraut tank.
Well, they're supposed to be on our side, but I guess...
Okay, it's a modern damn kraut tank.
Are these supposed to be smoke grenade launchers or something here?
Let me see if I can get a bigger view here. Yes. At least that's what they look like to me. We don't put caps on ours.
Well, maybe
it's got an MG3 machine gun.
Well, it's got something that looks like one. I don't think they're going to give us active machine guns without an NFA process, but
it's clean on the inside, probably because they never used it.
Yeah, the Germans don't really. I mean, nothing in their army apparently is ready to go, including the army. They don't have any way to transport their army anywhere, which is one of the things Trump was complaining about. A Marder 1A3. Well, I mean, it might come in handy to have an armored vehicle of some kind. Rocket tank destroyer.
I mean, look, he won't let me have a damn horse, so do you really think he's going to roll up in a tank?
I like to see him try and stop me. I don't think he has anything that could take out a tank. So, like, I roll up onto his farm with an MK Mark 10 Chieftain, and he's like, "You can't put that thing on my farm." It's like, just cranked the turret around and pointed at him. He says, "Well, maybe you can." Even if the gun was rendered inoperable, just pointing that at somebody would deter them, I would think. They didn't know for sure if it was inoperable. I think what happened was one time in the lobby on Gun Channels, we had this conversation about body armor, and I just said, well, why can't I just buy a tank instead? Because people were saying it weighs too much, you get all sweat. And it's like, why can't I buy just tank? And I think Pink said, yeah, you can buy a tank. It's like, okay, that's what I'll do. Instead of having to worry about wearing all this body armor around, I'll just get a tank. Russian amphibious armored scout car. Southern Alabama. Armored and tracked. Only $40,000. I don't know if it works. Hopefully, for $40,000, it'll run.
All right. Well, you keep looking at tanks. I'm gonna head out.
All right, so we'll call this one a show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're still watching, give us a thumbs up and check us out next week on Lock and Load. Y'all be cool.
Later, everyone.